The massive screen in Earth's Global Defense Center showed 12 red dots moving toward the solar system. Captain James Walker stood with his hands behind his back, watching the objects that would change humanity's future forever. His gray eyes narrowed as new data appeared on the screen. "Sir, the objects are slowing down," reported Tom Miller, the young radar specialist. His fingers flew across the keyboard as he pulled up more detailed scans. "They're each about the size of a football stadium." Walker nodded, his military training keeping him calm despite the gravity of the situation. "What about the biological readings?" "That's the strange part, sir," Miller said, bringing up a new window filled with complex patterns. "These things, they're partly alive. We're detecting organic material inside metal shells." The room fell silent. Humanity had prepared for first contact for decades, but nothing like this. The year 2157 was supposed to be like any other. Instead, it would be remembered as the day everything changed. Walker pressed a button on the command console. "Get me Dr. Howard from biology. I want to know what we're dealing with." Before anyone could respond, the red dots suddenly accelerated. They weren't heading toward Earth's orbit as expected. They were coming straight for the planet. "All stations, red alert." Walker's voice boomed through the facility. "Contact all major military bases. Whatever these things are, they're not here for peaceful talks." The next few hours were chaos. The objects entered Earth's atmosphere like burning meteors, but they didn't break apart. They were pods, designed to survive re-entry. They crashed across different continents. 2 in North America, 3 in Asia, 2 in Europe, 3 in Africa, and 2 in South America. Dr. Howard rushed into the command center, her white lab coat flying behind her. "Captain, you need to see this." She connected her tablet to the main screen. "The pods are opening, and what's coming out? It's impossible." The screen showed security camera footage from near the New York landing site. The pod had split open like a giant egg, and something was climbing out. It looked like someone had combined a tiger, a bear, and something from humanity's worst nightmares. The creature was the size of a tank, with armor-like scales covering its body. Its 6 legs ended in massive claws, and multiple eyes dotted its elongated head. "It's not a natural creature," Dr. Howard explained, her voice shaking. "The DNA patterns we're picking up. These things were engineered. They're living weapons." More creatures emerged from the other pods. Each one was slightly different, but all were clearly designed for one purpose: war. The first attacks began within minutes. The Warbeast in New York shrugged off police bullets like they were raindrops. Its roar shattered windows for blocks around. When the military arrived with tanks, the creature showed its true power. It moved faster than something that size should be able to, its claws tearing through metal like paper. "Get me the president," Walker ordered, watching similar scenes play out across the globe. "We need to declare a global emergency. These things, they're not just invading. They're hunting us." As reports flooded in from around the world, a pattern emerged. The Warbeasts were targeting military installations and population centers. They weren't random monsters. They were following a strategy. An alien race had studied Earth, created these perfect killing machines, and now humanity was facing an enemy unlike anything in its history. Walker looked at the casualty reports with a heavy heart. Regular weapons barely slowed the creatures down. Humanity's most advanced military technology seemed primitive against these biological tanks, but he refused to give up hope. If some alien race thought they could just wipe out humanity with their engineered monsters, they were in for a surprise. "Get me everything we have on experimental weapons," he told his staff, "and contact every research facility worldwide. We didn't survive this long as a species to be wiped out by someone's science project." As night fell over the defense center, the screen showed more pods entering the atmosphere. This was just the first wave. The real war was about to begin. 3 days after the first attacks, the world was burning. London's famous Big Ben lay in ruins, half of Tokyo was in flames, and New York streets had become hunting grounds for the Warbeasts. Dr. Emma Thompson stood in her underground lab, staring at tissue samples from a dead warbeast, the only one humanity had managed to kill so far, at the cost of 37 tanks and hundreds of lives. "This doesn't make sense," she muttered, adjusting her microscope. The creature's cells were still moving, trying to heal themselves even hours after death. On her computer screen, simulations showed how the beast's armor could reshape itself to resist different types of damage. Her phone buzzed. It was Captain Walker. "Please tell me you have good news," he said, his voice tired. In the background, she could hear explosions. "The Warbeasts aren't just strong. They're smart," Emma explained. "Their bodies adapt to whatever we throw at them. Use regular bullets. Their skin gets harder. Use flames. They grow heat-resistant scales. It's like they were designed to counter every weapon we have." "How did they know our weapons so well?" Walker asked. Before Emma could answer, the lab's emergency lights started flashing. On her security screen, she saw people running through the hallways above. "They found the facility," she said, quickly saving her data. "I'm going to the secure server room. We can't let them destroy this research." The whole building shook. Through the thick walls, Emma heard the familiar roar of a warbeast. This one sounded different from the others. Deeper, more terrifying. She grabbed her laptop and emergency bag, then headed for the emergency tunnel that connected to the server room. Just as she reached the tunnel entrance, the lab's reinforced ceiling cracked. Dust and concrete fell as massive claws ripped through the metal and stone like it was paper. This warbeast was even bigger than the others, with black armor plates and glowing red eyes. It looked straight at her, and Emma knew it wasn't here by accident. It was hunting for something specific. She ran into the tunnel as the beast crashed into the lab behind her. Her research samples and equipment were destroyed, but she had backed up the most important data. The tunnel lights flickered as she ran, the warbeast's roars echoing behind her. In the server room, Emma quickly connected her laptop. As she transferred the data, she looked at the facility's security feeds. The scene was horrible. This new warbeast was different. It was leading the others, directing them to specific targets. They weren't just destroying randomly anymore. "Captain," she said into her phone, "they're evolving. This attack, they knew exactly where to find our research facility. The one chasing me, it's like their commander." "Can you get out?" Walker asked. "Almost done copying the data," Emma replied. She could hear the warbeasts getting closer. "But that's not the worst part. I found something in their DNA that changes everything. These creatures, they're not completely alien. There's human DNA mixed in their code." The tunnel door burst open. Emma grabbed the laptop and ran for the emergency exit as the beast commander tore through the servers. Outside, military helicopters were arriving, firing missiles at the warbeasts. Like before, the weapons barely slowed them down. A soldier helped Emma into one of the helicopters. As they flew away, she watched the facility collapse. The beast commander stood in the ruins, looking up at them. Its roar was almost like laughter. "Captain," she said, clutching her laptop, "whoever made these things didn't just study our weapons. They studied us, our DNA, our biology. It's like they knew exactly who they were fighting. But why would they need human DNA to make their weapons? Unless what?" Walker asked. "Unless they've met humans before," Emma said, watching the burning city below. "And if that's true, then maybe somewhere out there, we have weapons of our own. We just need to find them." In the emergency bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Emma Thompson stared at her computer screen with wide eyes. After a week of running tests on the warbeast DNA samples she'd saved, something incredible had appeared in the results. "Captain Walker," she called out to the man studying battle maps on the other side of the room. "You need to see this. Now." Walker walked over, his boots heavy on the concrete floor. The bunker was one of humanity's last safe places, with walls thick enough to keep even the largest warbeasts out. What did you find? Emma pointed to complex patterns on her screen. Look at this DNA sequence. The alien part is weird enough, but the human part, it's old, really old, like thousands of years old. What does that mean? Walker asked, leaning closer. It means, Emma said, pulling up more data, that whoever made these warbeasts didn't get our DNA recently. They've had it for a very long time. They've been watching us, studying us, maybe even. She paused, hardly believing what she was about to say. Maybe even helping shape our development. Before Walker could respond, an older man stepped out of the shadows. It was Dr. Marcus Reed, the head of the ancient history department that had been moved to the bunker for safety. He'd been quietly listening to their conversation. "Did you say thousands of years?" he asked, walking quickly to Emma's desk. "Show me the exact age estimate." Emma typed on her keyboard. "Based on genetic drift patterns, I'd say between 5,000 to 7,000 years old." Dr. Reed's face went pale. He rushed to his own desk and came back with an old tablet. "Look at this," he said, showing them photographs of ancient stone tablets. These were found in different places: Egypt, South America, Asia, but they all tell the same story. A story about metal dragons that sleep beneath the earth, waiting for the day they're needed. Metal dragons? Walker asked, looking skeptical. "Most historians thought they were just myths," Reed explained, "but they all date from the same time period as your DNA samples. And there's more." He swiped through more photos. "These tablets talk about sky warriors who left these dragons behind as guardians. They say these warriors looked like us, but came from beyond the stars." Emma's hand shook as she pulled up another file. "The human DNA in the warbeasts. It has markers I've never seen before. Changes that look artificial, like someone was trying to improve it. What if those sky warriors were humans? Advanced humans who visited Earth thousands of years ago." The bunker's lights flickered as a distant explosion shook the ground. The warbeasts were attacking another city somewhere above them. Walker walked to a walled screen showing defense reports from around the world. Half of Earth's major cities were in ruins. "So you're saying," he said slowly, "that ancient astronauts visited Earth, left some kind of hidden defense system behind, and the aliens who made these warbeasts know about it. That's why they're attacking now, before we can find it." "The timing makes sense," Reed said. "Look at how fast they attacked, how their warbeasts knew exactly where to hit us. They're not just trying to conquer Earth, they're trying to stop us from finding something." Emma suddenly sat up straighter. "The commander beast that attacked my lab, it wasn't just after my research. It was making sure we couldn't find any clues in the warbeast DNA." She turned to Walker. "We need to look in the places these tablets talk about. If there really are metal dragons hidden somewhere on Earth, we need to find them fast." Walker nodded, already reaching for his phone to call what remained of Earth's military command. "Where do we start?" Reed spread out an old map on Emma's desk. His finger pointed to a spot in the Pacific Ocean. "The tablets all mention one place specifically, the deepest part of the Great Waters. Today, we call it the Mariana Trench." The deep-sea submarine explorer pushed through the dark waters of the Mariana Trench. Commander Robert Drake sat at the controls, watching the depth meter tick past 30,000 feet. Behind him, Dr. Reed studied ancient tablet copies while Dr. Thompson monitored radiation readings. "We're getting close to the coordinates," Drake said, his voice tight. Every creak of the submarine's hull reminded him of the crushing pressure outside. One crack, and they'd all be dead. "Energy readings are increasing," Emma reported, staring at her screen. "Whatever's down here, it's putting out power. After thousands of years, it's still running." The submarine's lights cut through the black water, revealing nothing but empty ocean. Then something reflected their light, something smooth and artificial. Drake turned the submarine slightly, and everyone gasped. "That's not a natural formation," he said, looking at a massive metal wall stretching into the darkness. It was covered in strange symbols that glowed with a faint blue light. Dr. Reed rushed to the window. Those symbols, they're the same as on the tablets, but here they're glowing, still active after all this time. Drake guided the submarine along the wall until they found an opening, a massive doorway big enough for several aircraft carriers to pass through side by side. As they entered, their lights revealed something that changed everything they thought they knew about human history. It was a hangar. But not just any hangar. Row after row of sleek spacecraft stood in perfect formation, their metal shells untouched by time. Some were small, fighter-sized. Others were enormous, like floating cities. All of them looked more advanced than anything humans had ever built. "This is impossible," Emma whispered, her instruments going crazy. "The metal these ships are made of, it's not from Earth. And there's some kind of field preserving everything, keeping the water out." The submarine's radio crackled. They hadn't expected it to work this deep, but a voice came through clearly. "Approach detected. Beginning genetic scan." A blue light swept through the submarine, passing over each person. Everyone held their breath, waiting. "Human genetic patterns confirmed," the voice said. "Welcome, descendants. Emergency protocols are now active due to Level 1 surface threat detection." The hangar suddenly lit up, revealing its true size. It stretched for miles in every direction. Rows of lights activated one by one, illuminating hundreds of ships. "Look at the size of this place," Drake said, carefully docking the submarine at a platform that had risen from a hangar floor. "This isn't just a hidden base. It's an entire fleet." They put on their diving suits and exited the submarine. As soon as they stepped onto the platform, the water around them vanished, held back by an invisible barrier. They could now breathe normally. "The ships look ready to launch," Emma said, running her hand along the hull of the nearest vessel, "like they'd just been waiting for us to find them." "That's exactly what they've been doing," Dr. Reed replied, looking at a control panel that had activated at his touch. "According to this, these ships were left here by humans, advanced humans who came from another star system. They found Earth, saw our ancestors, and knew that someday we'd need protection." Drake walked to a larger control station. As he approached, it lit up, displaying a holographic map of Earth. Red dots showed the locations of all Warbeast attacks. "Why didn't they just stay and protect us themselves?" he asked. "Because they wanted us to develop on our own," Reed answered, reading from the panel. "They left these ships as a gift, but we had to be ready for them, had to face a threat big enough to force us to look deeper, to find our true heritage." Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the hangar. The computer voice returned. "Warning. Multiple Warbeast carriers entering Earth's atmosphere. Estimated planetary defense failure in 72 hours without intervention." Drake looked at the others, then back at the ships. "How quickly can we learn to fly these things?" The computer answered. "Neural interface systems are designed for human compatibility. Basic flight training can be completed in 12 hours. Shall we begin?" Drake nodded. "Start the training. It's time to show those aliens they attacked the wrong planet." Neural link established. The computer announced as Commander Drake sat in the pilot's seat of one of the smaller ships. His mind connected directly with the vessel's controls, making it feel like an extension of his body. Around him, 20 other pilots were going through the same process, each one linking with their own ship. "This is incredible," Drake said, making the ship hover without moving a muscle. "It's like the ship knows what I want to do before I even think it." Emma's voice came through the communication system. She was in the hangar's control center, monitoring everyone's neural patterns. "That's exactly what's happening. These ships were designed to work with human brains. They're not just responding to your thoughts. They're helping you think." In the 12 hours since they'd found the fleet, more submarines had brought hundreds of military personnel to the underwater base. Captain Walker coordinated everything from the surface, while Dr. Reed worked with the base's computer to unlock more of its secrets. Guardian system activating, the computer announced. A hologram appeared in the center of the hangar, a glowing figure that looked almost human. I am Guardian, the fleet's artificial intelligence. I have been waiting 5,732 years to fulfill my purpose. Emma stepped closer to the hologram. Why did they leave you here? The humans who built all this. They were explorers, Guardian replied, its voice gentle but powerful. They found Earth when your civilization was young. They saw potential in your people, but they also saw the dangers that would come. The Harvesters had already destroyed many worlds. The Harvesters, Drake said from his ship. That's who sent the Warbeasts. Correct. They seed worlds with life, wait for it to develop, then harvest the strongest species to make their biological weapons. They have done this for millions of years. Earth was seeded long ago, but my creators intervened. They left me here to protect you when the Harvesters finally came. Suddenly, alarms blared through the base. On the main screen, new Warbeast pods were entering Earth's atmosphere. These were bigger than the first wave. 50 carriers detected, Guardian announced, each containing hundreds of enhanced Warbeasts. The Harvesters are escalating their attack. Surface defenses will fail within hours. Dr. Reed's voice came over the comm system, excited despite the danger. The base's archives are incredible. These ships have quantum shields that can absorb any physical attack. Their weapons use plasma hot enough to melt through anything. And each ship has its own AI that can adapt to any threat. Drake looked at his ship's systems through the neural link. The technology was beyond anything he'd imagined. How many ships can we pilot? We only have a few hundred people here. The neural training is spreading through the base's network, Emma reported. Military pilots all over the world are receiving it in their sleep. By the time we launch, we'll have thousands ready to fly. Guardian's hologram grew larger. Warning, Warbeast carriers are deploying. They are targeting major population centers. Time to planetary defense failure. 3 hours. Drake started powering up his ship's weapons. Around him, the other pilots did the same. The neural link let them work together like they'd been flying these ships for years. Guardian, he called out, how long until the whole fleet is ready? Fleet activation at 82%. Surface pilot training at 91%. All systems will be combat ready in 47 minutes. Captain Walker's voice came through the global command channel. All surface forces fall back to defensive positions. Protect the civilian shelters at all costs. Hold on for 1 hour. Help is coming. Drake watched through the base's sensors as the Warbeasts began their attack. Cities around the world were fighting back with everything they had, but normal weapons couldn't stop these new, stronger creatures. Guardian, Drake said, his ship humming with power, start the launch sequence. It's time to show the Harvesters they picked a fight with the wrong species. The ceiling of the massive underwater hangar began to open, creating a tunnel straight to the surface. The ancient fleet was awakening, and Earth's darkest hour was about to become its finest. The ocean exploded upward as the first wave of ancient ships burst from the Mariana Trench. Commander Drake led the formation in his fighter, water streaming off the quantum shields. Behind him, hundreds of ships of all sizes rose into the sky, their hulls gleaming in the sunlight for the first time in thousands of years. All ships report in, Drake ordered through the neural link. One by one, the pilots confirmed they were ready. Many were connecting from bases around the world, their minds linked to distant ships through Guardian's network. Multiple Warbeast carriers detected in low orbit, Guardian announced. They are launching a full planetary assault. Through the ship's enhanced sensors, Drake saw the massive carrier ships. They looked like dark mountains floating above Earth, each one releasing hundreds of new Warbeasts. These creatures were even larger than before, some as big as battleships. Remember your training, Drake said to all pilots. These ships know how to fight. Trust your neural link. Guardian, begin the attack. The ancient fleet split into three groups. The largest ships, carrying powerful plasma weapons, moved to engage the carriers. Medium-sized vessels formed a defensive screen around Earth's cities. The fighter squadrons, led by Drake, charged straight at the falling Warbeasts. Enemy creatures approaching, Guardian warned. They have adapted to conventional weapons, but they have never encountered this technology. Drake's fighter met the first wave of Warbeasts head-on. A creature the size of a whale tried to bite his ship in half, but its teeth couldn't penetrate the quantum shields. Drake fired a single plasma bolt, and the beast simply disappeared, vaporized by heat hotter than the sun's surface. The shields are working. Emma's voice came through the comm. She was monitoring the battle from the underwater base. Their biological armor can't handle these energy levels. All across the sky, humanity's ancient ships engaged the Warbeasts. The creatures tried to adapt, growing new defenses and attacking in different ways, but nothing could stand against the advanced technology. Plasma beams cut through them like paper, while quantum shields shrugged off their strongest attacks. In orbit, the larger ships engaged the harvester carriers. For the first time, the alien ships showed signs of panic. They tried to retreat, but the ancient vessels were faster. "Warning," Guardian announced. "Harvester command ship detected entering the system. Size indicates presence of enemy leadership." A massive ship, bigger than all the others, appeared near the moon. Its surface rippled like living metal, and it pulsed with evil-looking red energy. "That's their leader," Dr. Reed said over the comm. "The tablets mentioned them, the Harvester Elite. They don't usually fight themselves, but we're hurting them badly enough to get their attention." Drake led his fighter squadron toward the command ship. "Then let's show them what a big mistake that was. All ships, form up on me. Guardian, give us everything these ships have got." The ancient fighters accelerated to incredible speeds, their quantum drives letting them cross the space to the moon in minutes. The Harvester command ship launched waves of energy that could have cracked planets, but the quantum shields held. "Multiple targeting solutions available," Guardian said in all pilots' minds. "Recommended attack pattern uploaded." Through the neural link, Drake saw exactly where to hit the massive ship. Every fighter pilot saw the same thing. Moving as one, they dove through the enemy's defenses. "Now," Drake commanded. Hundreds of plasma beams struck the command ship at exactly the same points. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the giant vessel began to crack, lines of white-hot energy spreading across its surface. The Harvester command ship exploded in a blast that lit up space like a second sun. The remaining carrier ships immediately began retreating, abandoning their Warbeasts on Earth. "Enemy forces withdrawing from the solar system," Guardian reported. "The Harvesters have never been defeated this completely. They will remember this day." Drake watched the enemy ships flee. Cheers erupted over the comm system as humanity celebrated its first victory among the stars. "Let them remember," he said, his ship hovering proudly in space. "Let them tell everyone they meet what happened when they thought Earth would be an easy target." 1 month after the Great Battle, Commander Drake stood in the underwater hangar, watching teams of scientists and engineers studying the ancient ships. The defeat of the Harvesters had changed everything. Earth was different now, united by both victory and the knowledge that they weren't alone in the universe. "Commander," Emma called out, running toward him with excitement on her face. "Guardian just unlocked more of the archives. You need to see this." They walked to the central control room, where Dr. Reed was already studying new holograms. Captain Walker had joined them too, having finally left his command post now that Earth's cities were being rebuilt. "It's incredible," Reed said, pointing to a star map floating in the air. "These aren't just military archives. They're a map of human worlds, dozens of them, scattered across the galaxy." Guardian's hologram appeared, larger than before. "With the threat neutralized, I can now reveal the full truth. Earth was not the only world where my creators left their legacy. They found many suitable planets and seeded them with human life." "You mean there are other human civilizations out there?" Walker asked. his eyes wide. Correct. My creators were the first humans. They achieved space travel millions of years ago and spread life throughout the galaxy. But they knew the harvesters would eventually find their colonies. Each world was given different gifts to ensure survival. Emma studied the data floating before them. Different gifts. What did other worlds get? Some received advanced medical knowledge. Others got technological understanding or scientific secrets. Earth received the fleet because my creators saw your potential for courage and unity in the face of threats. Drake touched one of the glowing dots on the star map. Information about another human world appeared. Pictures of people who looked similar to Earth humans, but with slightly different technology and culture. Why didn't you tell us this before? He asked. Each world needed to develop independently, Guardian explained. If you had known about the others too soon, it might have changed your natural development. But now, having proven yourselves against the harvesters, you are ready to join your sister worlds. Walker looked thoughtful. The harvesters will be back, won't they? They will return, stronger than before. But now Earth is not alone. Other human worlds have already detected your victory. They are sending ships to make contact. Together, all human worlds can stand against any threat. Through the base's sensors, they watched the ongoing repairs around the world. The Warbeasts had caused massive damage, but they had also brought humanity together like never before. Countries that were once enemies now worked side by side, rebuilding cities and preparing for the future. Guardian, Drake said, can these ships reach the other human worlds? The fleet's quantum drives can cross galaxies. Would you like to send a message to your cousins among the stars? Emma stepped forward. Tell them Earth is ready. Tell them their lost family wants to come home. The next day, leaders from around the world gathered in the underwater base. Guardian showed them everything. The locations of other human worlds, the history of the first humans, and the greater destiny that awaited Earth. The ancient fleet was just the beginning. Guardian told them. Earth's children are ready to take their place among the stars. The harvesters thought they would find an easy target here. Instead, they awakened a sleeping giant. Now all the galaxy will know. Humanity is not just one world, but many. And we will never be prey again. Drake looked out at the fleet, now joined by ships from Earth's own space programs. Soon, vessels from other human worlds would arrive, bringing reunions thousands of years in the making. The Warbeasts had meant to destroy Earth, but they had instead helped humanity find its true heritage. The future was no longer just about defending one world. It was about uniting a family that had been separated for millennia. Earth had not just survived. It had found its place in a much larger story. The age of divided humanity was over. The age of the united human worlds had begun.